All right, hi, this is Attica, and welcome to Series 1, Episode 5 of our first look at Manor Lords. Now, we're going to jump right into what you could almost think of as a fundamentals video. I'm going to do it up front so that if there are people who want to watch this and learn about food and not necessarily watch the gameplay, that's cool. Now, you can have this right away, and then we'll come back and do some of the gameplay and show the things that we've learned and how it might be implemented in our game. So those of you who know me know that, of course, there's a spreadsheet coming. To understand food, I think the first thing we have to understand is how food is distributed. It's unusual, I'll say, and there are a lot of things to learn. There are several things to learn, and there are a lot of implications from what we learned. So let's imagine that we had a village with 24 burgage plots. And these numbers represent, one is the closest one to the market, and 24 is the farthest one away from the market. Now, if we had the ability to put 24 berries in our market and 6 meat, what would happen is that 24 burgage plots would get berries, and the first 6 would get meat, and the rest of them would not get any. And what we would see is that the actual consumption of the plot, food is consumed 1 food per plot per month. So what would happen is that the actual consumption down here, like on plot 7, would be 1 berry. So 1 berry would be consumed by plot 7. But if you look at plot 1, it got berries and meat. So mathematically, and I don't know if it actually randomly picks one and consumes a berry or consumes a meat, but what would actually happen is a berry, a full berry, and a full meat would be aligned to or given to burgage plot 1, but they would only eat mathematically half the berries and half the meat, because they only consume 1 unit of food per month. So this means that you're actually saving. If you have multiple food types, you're actually saving some of your food for use the next month. So let's just say we had more stuff. Let's say we had we had enough to put in 12 veggies in our market, and we had some eggs. We had just 6 eggs. Well, you can see what would happen again here. Now we would have more. The veggies would go farther, because what happens is that the distribution is always to the very first house. In terms of food, it will take every food type that you have one of in your storage or in your market. Actually, not storage, scratch that. In your market stalls, at that point in time, whatever you have in your market stalls, it will take 1 of each and consign it to the first one. Then it'll go to the next one and take 1 of each. And it's doing that all the way down. So these first 6 plots would get 1 of each of these, right? And so their consumption would actually only be 1/4 of each of them to get their 1 unit of food. So we would be saving a whole bunch of stuff. So you'd be saving your more constrained items by adding more different food types. So you want as many food types as you can reasonably get into your system. That's one thing we can learn from this. The other one is, what if we had this situation? What if we were only able to get 20 berries in our system and 6 meat and 12 veggies and 6 eggs? You would think that would still feed everybody at least something, right? But it will not. What it'll do is the first 20 houses will get the berries, but the last 4 won't get any kind of food, and they will enter starvation. They will not be happy. You'll start getting messages. You'll get those little red crosses over food in your, if you look at that burgage plot, they will not be happy campers, and who can blame them? They're not getting any food at all, because again, this first one beat them to market and got 4 different types, and even though they're only going to eat in theory a quarter of each one, they're actually taking away from our allotment or our market stall one of each one of these, and that means that the guys down here are going to starve. So a lesson learned there is you must have two of your food sources, food types, be able to support the total count of burgages in your entire village, town, settlement, village, town, whatever size it happens to be. So if I have 24 plots, I need two items that can be consistently at 24 in order to consistently feed these people, and I absolutely need one to make sure I'm not starving them. Right? So even though it seems like I have a lot of food here, the way it's distributed, I don't if I don't have something that's going to hit 24. And your market would not have 30 in this circumstance. For example, even though you might have that many berries in your system or in your warehouse, or your granary, because the market stalls will stock for that month however many up to the number of burgage plots you have to distribute the food to. And that creates the situation where the main thing with your market and efficiency is having your market very, very close to the storage, to the granary, in the case of food, to the granary, in the case of clothing, to the storehouse that holds the clothing, so that you can efficiently move those items into the market stalls every month before this occurs, before the distribution occurs, so that you can hit as many houses as possible every single month. So that tells us a thing about our design. Again, markets close to your storage, and ideally storage, either the storehouse or the granary, running those market stalls, not the people out in the field somewhere, because that's extremely inefficient to have them travel great distances carrying one at a time to the market, when we could have a granary worker with a cart with 10 at a time going right across the street. So that's what we want, is market close to our storage, to a central storage, and we want to have at least two of our food items with an ability to produce as much as we need for the entire count of burgage plots. And another thing that this tells us is we want to upgrade our burgage plots strategically. We want those upgrades to be right there next to the market. In other words, and they don't have to be next to the market literally. There could be a huge gap between the market and the first plot, but we want to make sure that this guy gets upgraded and this guy does not get upgraded, because even if we have a decent situation, let's say we had 24 berries, right, and we had 24 vegetables. So now we've got, our level 2's taken care of. But you can see we're not going to have meat and eggs for everybody. And it's impossible to have eggs for everybody in a village unless you're importing them, unless every single burgage plot is producing eggs. And then you can't produce any vegetables. That would be a horrible thing to do, because you only get one egg per plot. So they sound useless. No, they're not, because again, they can help you reduce the consumption of your other goods, and which stretches them out further, so for future months. And they can be used, I'll get to it in a minute, they can be used for your bigger houses, your houses that require more food. We'll get to that in a minute. So you can see there's a lot of things that this is telling us. So let's recap them. Have at least two food items that can produce as much as your total population, your total count of burgage plots. And try to get as many food items as you can to reduce consumption of all of the items, so that you don't, I think I got it. Oh, I thought that was an awful lot of savings. Okay, sorry. I had to fix that. I just couldn't look at that, whatever that huge number was, without groaning. So let's see, what did we say? So have two items that can hit your level, your level 1 plots with their 2 food items, have good production of 2 of them, add as many as you reasonably can to that mix, and go from there, and upgrade closest to the market. So there you go. There's the TLDR for that part of it. Now let's talk about food coverage and a food plan. So depending upon what you've got, it's very, very interesting. Let's just say that we have just started out and we've got 5 level 1 plots, and we don't have any of those. We don't have any of those, right? So we've got 5 total plots. So all we need is this food types required 2. We just need food. We need 2 food types to make these level 1 plots happy, right? So we could very, very easily at the beginning of the game, and this is rough production based on data I've pulled from multiple sources, Steam guides, other users, what have you, other YouTubers, what have you. In fact, let me Strat Gaming Guides, Gnome 22, very useful stuff, and pardon me, I'll have to look up the other one, and Walrus Jones. So it was Strat Gaming Guides, Gnome 22, and Walrus Jones. Excellent stuff. The last 2 were Steam guides, and of course Strat Gaming Guides is a YouTube channel. So we've got and the meat. I have the data I've seen under ideal conditions, a regular meat source out there can actually produce 12. Sorry, I'm stuttering because I don't get 12. I can't get 12 out of it. But even if we said that, we can even say that as an ideal scenario. You get 12 out of a standard deposit and 24 out of a rich deposit. 200 berries roughly in a year, 400 berries from rich. And then one really well-designed vegetable plot, which we'll get into later, can get about 47 a year annual production, which doesn't sound like much, but it's actually quite useful, extremely powerful actually. All right, so at our little starter thing, we only have the level 2 requirement. We don't need anything out here, right? So we've got, and let's just say, let's not say we have rich berries. Let's say we just have a berry patch, right? So we're going to go after our level 2 food requirement with that, and then we're going to go after our level food 2 to start with our meat, right? So that kind of makes sense to me that you would have, that's a typical start, you'd have berries and meat. And you can see it would only take one meat deposit, one meat source to hit our goal of 5, and it would only take the 1 berry patch. In fact, based on that data, our meat could take us up to 12 level 1 burgages, or 12 total burgage plots, and our berries could actually take us up to 17 and still give us coverage. But as soon as we start expanding and getting bigger, then we're going to need level 2 plots. So let's say we've expanded up till we've gotten like 8 of these and 2 of these. So now we've got 10 plots. So now we have level 2 and level 1. Now the meat and berries are still okay, but we need something to cover the level 2 plots, which are actually now need 3 different foods, right? So our third food source, these are our first 2, and our third food source, if let's say we could add berries, or I'm sorry, vegetables. So we could say, okay, all right, you do level 3. So we could see here 1 at this small level, 1 would do, and that would give us the coverage for this level 2 plot. Now, why is that? Because, now let's just take this data, 12, 17, and 4. If we go back here and think of it as 12 meat and 17 berries and 4 veggies a month that it would produce. Okay, you can kind of see what we're doing here. We were looking at 10 houses. So at 10 houses, you can see we would get, and no eggs. So if we kind of look at that model, you can kind of see it visually that we would have all 10 of our houses would be getting berries and meat, and 4 of those houses would be getting vegetables, which is more than enough to cover the 2 that we have at level 2. So our level 2 would be perfectly happy. Our level 1s would be perfectly happy, right? So that would be a plan for that level. So what I'd kind of do is think about, well, how many plots would I like to build total, and the strategy I'm taking here, and you could, obviously vary this for anything you want, but I'm taking the tact of, I want a decent sized village to support an upgraded church, a manor with a garrison tower, enough male members of the society to form a militia, a full 36 soldier militia troop, militia unit, and have a full retinue, with the manor and the garrison tower, and a full retinue of soldiers. So you have 2 military units coming out of each of the regions, 1 militia, 1 retinue. So to do that, I'm looking at like 26 workers, and this is kind of the build order I've got, and that's not a building, of course, that's a 1 person who's going to build, and then these are the kind of the rough order we do it. But the point of this is you'd end up with like 26. So let's do a food plan for 26 total plots, and we would have some. We would at that point we would probably be upgraded some. So we might have like 5 level 2s and 3 level 3s, and that's 8, and we would want 26, so 18. Whoops, wrong one. We would want 18 level 1 plots. Yeah, that's our 26. So we'd have something like that. So in order to hit that now at level 1, we can see, first of all, for our what we're calling food types requirement 2, we need 26. We need a production of 26. Well, not even rich meat is going to hit that. So I think our level 2, our plan would be to have vegetables be one of our level 2 sources. Now we can also see that the meat's not going to make it, so I'm going to take that out for a second. The berries, if we just have a regular berry patch, that's not going to make it because there's only 1 patch and we would need 2. So that's not going to work. So this is already telling us that for this, and eggs won't work because eggs mean, to have eggs do it, you would have to have every single plot would have to have an egg. There would have to be producing egg, and that's not practical, and it takes up all your spaces doing nothing. So in this case, unless you have gotten to apples, we're going to have bread. So for level 2, for our two supplies. So our all our houses are going to take 2 food. So we're going to have 7 vegetable gardens, good vegetable gardens, and bread in order to cover that. Now we've got berries and meat kind of by default. We could think about the berries now could just slip to be our level 3 supplier, right? And they would easily handle it, and that's all we would need. And we could still be making meat, and we could still be making, and we could throw in eggs as we got money in order to really take the burden, kind of save some of this food to give us a buffer in case of problems. And that would be a way to go. That would be a perfectly good plan. And then, the level 3, we need that. So this is where the meat would actually come in very handy. It could fulfill. No, I put the wrong number. Sorry, it's a little confusing. Our 4th requirement, our 4th food could be meat. So our first 2 foods could be vegetables and bread. Our 3rd food could be berries, and our 4th food would be meat. So can you see how we've gone from a meat and berries diet where those were your staples to now berries are an add-on and meat is a luxury? And that's kind of how the game evolves. So you have to come up with a solid food source, and the most solid food sources are, other than apples, I haven't gotten to apples yet, are vegetables and bread. So you can do vegetable gardens and not do that. 7 is not a ridiculous number, and get your one of your got to feed everybody out of the way, and bread is simply the king of food because it's the most productive. One communal oven can make 80. Well, operating efficiently, one communal oven can make 80 units of bread a month. So that's how you kind of make up a plan. So that would be a very good plan for one that had regular berries and regular meat. Now, if you had rich meat, that could be a different story because see, it could do 24. It could rich meat could certainly be your level 3, and for a longest time could be your food type 2. Kind of one of your 2 mainstays. Rich meat, and then if you went down that hunter-gatherer path on the development tree and upgraded it, it could handle quite a few if you had a rich meat supply. So that's why every region has a different distribution of rich resources, and every one of them requires a different plan. But this would be kind of just a generic look at it to support 26 burgage plots, to get our manor and our garrison tower and our upgraded church and have a fully functioning, profitable area that we could tax and tithe some food and all that good stuff. This is kind of what we want. And then I think you would absolutely think about throwing in eggs as a bonus to cut down on your consumption and to give you more food to tithe to the church to increase your influence, which is another subject for another day. So there you go. That's food as I understand it right now in Manor Lords in our early access. I think it'll probably change. I don't know. I don't know. I can hear the people griping about this idea that these guys are starving when there's this food over here. But I kind of like the model personally because I think it sort of shows you how the folks living downtown who are higher class have first shot at the food, and it shows you how you've got to make a lot of food in order to feed all the masses and to make sure everybody's happy and fed. It's a very interesting model. It's a very different model, but the main thing is it is what we have right now to work with, so we need to understand it and be able to use it. So let me wrap up by first making a disclaimer. Do you need a spreadsheet to play this game? Absolutely not. Of course not. Of course not. In fact, will I use a spreadsheet all the time to play the game? No, probably not. But will I use it more than most people? Yes. But I am a self-confessed nerd. I'm a total nerd, and I will look at that to help me wrap my head around a plan that I want to use to play the game well. And my biggest hope of this is, however you use it or don't use it, I hope there was something here that helps you become a better player and increases your enjoyment of Manor Lords. I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe, and join us for our next Manor Lords video. Thank you.